thanks for all that kind introduction. We're trying to work out what to say in Garry Hyde or anything. I've always really liked art, always been involved in it, and always found that the advertising industry has got a lot of similarities with art. The whole notion of art message is really part of what I've always dealt with. I think that this gallery is fantastic, and everyone today is saying the same thing. To me, it's always been one of the best galleries in Melbourne, and I think Gary's art looks fantastic. It looks really expansive space. I'm really delighted to present Gary's work. We've had quite a background together over the last year, I suppose, 6 or 8 months, and I've got a real affinity with Gary's work because, in my view, art generally is dominated by figurative, portrait and landscape art, and that's what people seem to understand and that's what they get. So I think it's refreshing to come across a modern day Australian abstract artist. It's, well, I guess there are some famous ones, and we were talking about people like Yvonne Ledet before, but Gary's new on the scene, and I think he's got a very fresh feel and a fresh look. And it's very, very unusual or really fantastic to meet someone who's really trying in what is a pretty difficult area in terms of the marketplace, and I'm sure Garry would agree with that. Abstract art uses a visual language of shape, form, colour and line to create a composition which may exist with a degree of independence from visual references. So you've got to have a good look at the work, for the thought, the message, and a little later I'll explain how we co-opted that in terms of using a hashtag Instagram system so people can comment on the work. And we've already done that, and some of the comments back about the work is quite fascinating, and particularly for Garry, because he might see it one way and then people see it in very different ways. Something about Garry the artist, I think the best way to put it is his art is the result of an instinctive approach to painting. He might have a different view, but that's how I see it. He's had no real formal art training, and in fact, you wouldn't believe it, but he's a retired West Australian wheat farmer, which is kind of a fascinating background. So when I look at Garry, I think he'd want a big tractor or something like that, you know? And here he is as an artist, which is an amazing transformation. So the question is, how does a farmer paint in the abstract expressionist style of people like Pollock, de Kooning and Klein? So, like, I think Garry would like to be associated with Pollock because only 2 days ago, $22 million was paid for one of Pollock's smaller paintings. So, and yet people do see a connection, which just shows you how reputation and I guess the whole impact of it works. And that was a fantastic. I think if Garry could get a result like that, he might buy another wheat farm. I've not heard Garry give a rational answer for how he paints, but I think he's just got a natural way of expressing himself. As far as I can see, and I've seen photographs of him at work, he just sits down and he starts painting, which is quite incredible, but in terms of what comes out. I think his work's very engaging, and even today with people looking at some of the newer pieces, which I haven't seen, because these have come from Western Australia, people get different messages, conscious level, subconscious level. So you get people saying, oh, I can see this, I can see that. A lot of people say it's kind of like graffiti, which is probably not what you intended to be, Garry, but people do make that note. The other thing you'll probably see is the work has evolved over the last 8-10 years, and whilst it's not kind of the sense of 2005 to 2015, there is a style change in it, and one of the more recent works is the one in the middle gallery there on the left, which is, as you see, is quite different from everything else. So Gary's just come back from New York, Los Angeles and everywhere else in America looking at art, so I think he got inspired by his trip to do that one. So you can see the involvement of his work. So his style for me is so much a point of visual language. So that's why, that's how we got the theme for to the exhibition, which I think is exactly what it is, visual language. So maybe we should get Garry to say a couple of words, because he has come all the way from Perth for this, so we should get him to say a few words. And maybe, Garry, you might just give a little bit of insight on how you started.
Well, thanks, Rod. Thank you, and thanks to Lauraine and Ruth and Nerida and staff at the gallery, and Michael for helping with the hanging during the week. And thanks very much for allowing me to have the exhibition here. It's much appreciated. And thanks to Rod for introducing us to the gallery and for your involvement. Well, my art career started pretty much, at school, and I had some very good teachers at college in Perth, and one of them was the wife of William Oystervane, who's a well-known West Australian artist, and amongst some others, and I was inspired there. And then when I went back on the family farm, I continued to paint, and painted with a group of people. We used to sit out in the paddock and paint the landscape, and my landscapes always tended to be on the more abstract side, and so that's sort of how. And I always painted. We didn't have television in those days, and so you just did these sort of abstract sort of things, and then I got more involved in the farming business, and was married to Jenny, and had a family and 3 daughters, and so art sort of got put on the back burner for 20 odd years, and we sold got out of the farming business, and the opportunity to get back into painting,
So where do you think it's going to go?
Yeah,
5 years from now, what are we going to see?
Well, I imagine it will start, it's going to be, the abstract, well, if it's the style, I just paint, and for some people, like an abstract expression style, which, I'm happy to be associated with that. But it's certainly colours are inspired by painting, colours that I've seen, music, and just general. I paint in music, classical music is music of choice, and that certainly does have a lot to do with it. And certainly the latest painting that you see in there, the very bright, that was sort of the last painting that I did after I came back from the US, and I suppose I was inspired a little bit by some of the art that I saw, the colours, and so the pink, a bit of pink in there, I suppose could be, the Kooning's paintings, which he uses a lot of pink in some of his early works with. So it's hard to really say exactly. This painting here, for example, well, I do like to paint large, and so selecting works to come here, I tried to select a range, some smaller works. This is my largest painting that I have done, but I find it gives me the space to sort of create work. So, yeah. Okay,
well, look, I think catch up with Garry after this, and if you haven't already spoken to him, go and ask him what he thinks of some particular pieces, and have a chat. One of the things that we've done for this exhibition, which is a little different, is because the art leads to so many different interpretations, and we've seen that, and people think quite amazing things about each piece that surprises Garry. We've actually put a system in where we want people to follow at Garry Hyde on Instagram. So the idea is that we want people to take photographs, make comments about the work, join Garry on Instagram, and actually start to get a lot of toing and throwing on what's being said about the work. And I think this is an important trend in the industry, apart from anything else. And we've already started, and so Gary's already got lots of interesting comments. So you'll see some of the pieces have got hashtag addresses, which is how you will do it. And if anyone wants to talk about it a bit more, you could actually talk to Nick here. Maybe Nick, put your hand up. So if you want to get into that, and we've already had a few lessons today.
Yes.
So we want this to happen, and already Gary's had work back from comments back
all around the world, actually.
Yeah. So and that's the way of the world, and that's the way of this marketplace. So we want to keep doing that. There's also a book for people who want to actually write something, write a comment about the works, and that gets you into the flow of it. And just think about looking at pieces, writing down what you think, and publishing. That would be good. So we really want you to get involved. We don't want you just looking to pass by. So we want you to think hard about it. So I think that's probably enough. So I would like to actually officially declare the exhibition open and invite you all to enjoy the day and hop onto Instagram, have a think about it, talk to Garry and enjoy yourself. Thank you.